Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Choosing Beggars. Story 1. Why yes, I'd love to spend 2 weeks straight on a free illustration for you total stranger. I gotta stop marketing myself to bronies. Posted some art to a MLP sub, wasn't looking for comms, but it's always nice when someone messages to ask about my prices. Right off the bat I knew this would be one of those "oh I was hoping you'd do it for free sad face" kinda instances, but I hoped. I did not, however, expect to be told I use crystals as currency. 3. This was a lot lol. Story 2. I just wanted to go home. I hit the gas station to buy a beer because I work nights and sleeping during the day is hard. In line, dude looking for the cheapest Delta 8 VP. 89 cents short. Starts doing the maybe I have money in this pocket dance. I wait a minute and offer to cover the 89 cents so I can go home. Immediately hit with a "can you buy me?" No bro. Less than $1 so I can go home, such. Anything else, nah mate. Story 3. I need it though. Story 4. Okay, pay the daycare then. Story 5. Big YouTube channel Pavel says game developers should work for free. YouTuber Pavel states that a game developer should work for free. He has a problem with the game developer, that's a separate issue, but to expect anyone to work for free, Pavel has 4.5 million subscribers. This has massive input into the knock-on effect on how future game developers make games. He says the game wasn't bad, the developer explains why the game costs that price, and then Pavel says he is insinuating that when you do your own thing you have to pay yourself a wage. Well, that's not how running a business works. Most of the time you work for free, unless you are very successful, which is rare. https://udo.b/sp3saj0so, t = 756. I think that this is a very poor show on Pavel, such a big following, to say that game developers should be expected to work and provide a game for free, unless they are very successful. Story 6. Just happened. I boarded the aircraft and went to my business class bulkhead window seat. Getting ready to settle in for a long flight. A woman came to the aisle seat and placed her bag on the seat. She looked at me and asked me if I would be willing to trade with her husband so he and she could sit together. I asked her where her husband was sitting. She indicated he was back in row 25 by window. I declined to move. She got visibly upset and said she couldn't believe I would not trade to let them sit together. I suggested that she trade her seat with whomever was sitting next to her husband so they could sit together. She kinda of snorted and told me she had paid for a first-class ticket. I smiled slightly and said that, indeed, I had as well. With that, I put on my headphones. She is now sitting next to me, fuming. It's going to be a long flight. At least I will be physically comfortable. Story 7. Pulls payments and gets mad we won't let her order again. Not sure it qualifies as choosing beggar, but thought you would like. Pulls multiple payments and can understand why she gets blacklisted. It's long. Enjoy. Story 8. No free ice cream for you. This was back in late 2020, just after the first COVID wave got over and infection numbers had come down. We went out for a drive and saw an ice cream outlet open, but with very limited items/options available. Due to government lockdown regulations, all commercial shops had been closed for several weeks, so this was a nice surprise. My GF and I opted for one item each and sat outside enjoying the moment. There's this teenage kid, 15 plus I'd guess, who keeps staring at us, and after a min or so, I ask him if he needed anything. Says he wants one too, and I say fine, let me get one for you. Kid then points out that he didn't want what we are having, a normal-sized scoop, but the jumbo option, which was nearly thrice the price and would be easily enough for 2 people. I tell him, I can get him what we are having and he can pick the flavor he likes. He shrugs his shoulders and walks off. Story 9. CB wants new items worth $50 for a Secret Santa they voluntarily signed up for. CB in my local Buy Nothing group signed up for an office Secret Santa with a $50 minimum, which in and of itself is insane, but then realizes she has overextended herself this holiday season and asks the community for new items worth $50. Of course she is going to give something she got for free and receive a gift worth $50 or greater. She even admitted it was completely voluntary and she had no obligation to join in. This really grinds my gears. My heart goes out to anyone struggling to put food on the table or give their children a memorable holiday, but your office secret Santa? Give me a break. Story 10. Can children be choosing beggars? My 40M wife, 50F, and I were in our first year of marriage when she met her now best friend. There was an instant connection, even though she was 15 years younger than my wife. Like any friendship there have been ups and downs, and for nearly 4 years, they did not speak, until about 3 months ago. I was happy to see them reconnect, as I could tell there was a hole in my wife's heart for her, and despite having several other friends, there was none that quite stacked up. I am friendly with her best friend, as we occasionally swap recipes and talk about the food we love, when she is over spending time with my wife. With this recent reconnection, we've been spending time with our kids and hers playing together. They tend to have a good 2 hours of healthy playtime, but inevitably, her kids start getting grouchy and whiny. I realize they're children, and don't have all the coping skills to temper their reactions, but between the daughters, 6, whining, and the sons, 4, shouting and stomping, I lose patience. I don't snap at them, or make any. Story 11. Demanding extra chicken nuggets because one was loose in the box. This story isn't really serious, but today was the first shift of my first job, fast food, and I already came across some stupid-ass customers. An old couple that ordered chicken nuggets pulled into the drive-thru, and I handed them their food. They looked through their bag, and handed me the box of chicken nuggets back. When I asked if there was anything wrong with it, they told me that I owed them another nugget because one fell out. It didn't fall out and land on the floor, though. It fell out of the box into the bag. They wanted to hold up the line for another minute because one of their nuggets was in the bag and not the box. I gave the box to my trainer BC. I thought he was gonna give them the extra nugget, but he walked out of sight of the customers for a few seconds, and gave me back the box to hand to them. We didn't do anything. Thankfully they didn't bother to check a second time and just left. Again, this isn't really a crazy story, just a funny first experience with rude customers. Story 12. I want free help, but not like that. I'm a reseller on the side, and happen to sell vintage items. I had a sale recently and a lady came through looking for some very specific items that I unfortunately didn't have, one item being a particular brand of a vintage tea set. We got to chatting about our mutual hobby of collecting old items and she asked if I could contact her if I happen across one of the items she was searching for. I occasionally help source items for customers or tip them off to other sellers if I come across something they are looking for but may not be worth my time to purchase and resell because of limited profit margins or lack of means to get it home. So I told her, sure, I'll let you know if I see the tea set in my treasure hunts. I took down her number. Later that evening, I'm scrolling through some local sales pages and what do I happen to come across? The exact teapot and part of the tea set she was looking for, in perfect condition, for only $10. I messaged the lady from earlier. Hi lady's name. This is Embarrassed Park from the vintage sale. I happened upon an item you might be interested in, here's the link. With a link to the teapot and partial set. I wasn't expecting a response, but she messaged back, well, where's the rest of it? A thanks would have been nice, but I ignored the lack of decorum and replied back, this isn't my listing, but you mentioned you were hunting for this, so just figured I'd send it along. Enjoy. She responds, this isn't even the full set. Why would I even want this? I responded, it's hard to find full sets of vintage china, but maybe check eBay instead. Have a good evening. I thought that would be the end of the conversation, but she kept on. eBay? I don't have the time to search through eBay and I am not paying those kind of prices. I just ignored her, she continued. Find out where the rest of the set is. I just blocked her at this point. The entitlement of this woman rubbed me the wrong way. I did a charitable thing by letting her know where she could find some great pieces of this old tea set, and not only was there absolutely zero acknowledgement of the favor, but lady doubled down and tried to make me do extra work for her. Ugh. Thankfully, most of my customers are grateful when I point them towards a good deal they can get at cost, but this lady was something else. No good deed goes unpunished. Story 13. Urgent but only these colors please calls people rude for calling her out in the. Story 14. Happy birthday to myself. This person in a local buy nothing group, a top contributor aka a person who posts requests and claims items on a near daily basis, had a birthday recently and got super salty when only one person provided her with gifts. For some reason, maybe someone could make us a cake really sent me over the edge. They sell cake mix at the dollar store. Make your own damn cake. Story 15. The communal pencil cup request. I'll start by saying that I am a teacher and I keep a cup of pencils for any student who didn't bring theirs. They're in an older grade and it's their responsibility to come to school prepared, but it happens and kids forget. This past week marked the end of the first week of school. I asked my students about what they liked so far and what they wanted to see in the new year. One student pipes up and says, I think you have to buy new pencils for the pencils in your cup because most of them don't have erasers and leave marks on the paper if I use it, and I replied, well, those pencils are for anyone who forgot theirs. Know whose responsibility is it to come to class prepared and bring their own pencil? If you don't like the quality of my pencils, please bring your own. Story 16. He's looking for a full-time happy-faced senior video editor. Any takers? Story 17. Accidental CB. This was when Marketplace was introduced and someone was selling Pac-Man action figurines and being a huge fan pinged them. They had listed them for $1 as I did not. That was a placeholder and asked how many I could get. They rudely informed me that it wasn't $1 and asked me to buzz off cough cough. Since then I ask people, is that the price? They have really listed it for. Lesson learnt. Story 18. CB Pastor. Stopped by the mall to make a return today, and on the way back out to my car, I was stopped by a gentleman in a suit and tie. He gave me a lengthy story about how he was the pastor of some church a few hours away, even name-dropped the church and city, and how he and his 5 months pregnant wife were just in town for the day when their car broke down. He said they had $250 but still needed $85 for the rest of the car repair. I didn't entirely believe his story, but he was kind enough. The woman with him really was pregnant, and they were in a pretty run-down car, so I gave him the $25 I had in my wallet and wished him well. He thanked me and told me he'd pay me back. I told him if he really was a pastor, that he could just pay it forward sometime. I started to walk towards my car, thinking we were done, but he again stepped into my path and asked if I could just cover the full $85. Said he'd be happy to pay me back if I just gave him my home address. LOL. I told him I didn't have any more cash and wasn't able to help him further. He said he understood and thanked me again, but then he pulled the whole "we can just walk over to that ATM and get the rest of the money." I told him I couldn't help him more and went to get in my car. He goes, "Really?" And then starts shouting something to the effect of, "You're really not going to help more than this? You were just in there shopping," gestures to the mall, "and you're really not going to help a pastor in need?" A pastor? I'm not easily intimidated, but I definitely got in my car and locked the doors. I'm just annoyed I didn't snatch my $25 back first. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.